Danny, can you hear me correctly?
Perfect, loud and clear.
Okay, so I will share my screen because, yeah, with slide it will be a little bit better. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So we are all good. So thank you, Danny. So I'm Clément Serafin. I come from Paris. I'm French. So yeah, still I will make this introduction in English. I think it will be better for everyone. So the subject today we will cover is segregate and protect Azure workloads in Entra ID and Azure. Because like as architect M365, I do a lot of security implementations. But before, first things first, I would like to thank some sponsors. Without sponsors, we don't have any events. So thanks Cyclotron, thanks Creosparks and Cabeza to sponsor us today. It's really important to have sponsors for these events. That's what make us live and which is allowing us to be together today. So the agenda is divided in four parts. First, we're going to go into the account securitization strategy. After, I will go deep in the segregation of those accounts and the hardening. After, we'll talk about permissions on Entra ID and Azure. And finally, when we've gone through the permissions, we are protecting the Azure workloads, which are interesting us. Most of the time, because I'm consultant, when I coming on a company, the things we can see is some classic scenario. First, we can see some accounts which are synchronized. And so they are domain admin, so on-premise and global admin online in same time. You have some tiering which is missing, so we don't have the tiering model which is implemented on premise, or we are not considering the cloud in this tiering. We have most of the time the principle of least privilege, which is not applied well, which can provoke lateral movements. We will have a weak segregations of different workloads. So basically, a lot of people have production in Azure, but the week of segregations will impact them, and we'll see that later. And as well, because now we are automating a lot of stuff, we are using DevOps to deploy our environments in Azure, and most of the time we are seeing DevOps environments which are badly secure. So here it's a little attack chain from Microsoft of what we're going to see today. So the main goal of this presentation is to give you some tips to reduce lateral movements, to have an attack surface prediction, avoid to be compromised on premise on your Active Directory from Azure, reduce rebound permissions, so lateral movement by having some permission escalation, and so the security strategy, let's start with that. So Microsoft made one stuff which is called the Rapid Modernization Plan, which is called RAMP. If you are just typing on Microsoft on Google RAMP Microsoft, you will directly find it. And what is saying this RAMP model? It said basically that we must consider each port of the access path which is used by privileged admin. First, you need to segregate user and privileged, which is pretty obvious. Right now, we don't have people which are using the same account to access their mailbox and making administration. And we need to split each part. So the device, the account, the intermediaries, and the interface, we need to split those and secure them one by one. When you're going on a model of zero trust, we are not trusting anything. That's why you have a warning on each port, because they are just a vector of attack. And so here you have an example of all potential attack surface you can have. So from the user, from the privilege access, from directly the identity system, or through the intermediaries and the elevation path. So first, we need to identify the lateral movements and go for an end-to-end approach. So by segregating user and privilege access, we will reduce the possibility of an attacks. When you have privilege, you can only use privileged device, privileged account, intermediaries, privileged intermediaries. So that will really drastically reduce the attack surface, so directly to the interface, intermediaries, and the identity systems. What is the main goal of that when we are doing this ramp model approach is to disrupt the attacker return on investment. Most of the time we are like, okay, it will attack, they will attack, but the main goal is just to increase the attacker costs, and at the end it will be worse for him to make this attack. So I'm going to show you some solutions which are, so it's implying a cost for you, but that means every time you are implying one stuff, you are deploying one stuff, the attacker will have to invest more and more and more to attack. And the main goal is just to discourage them by implying a huge cost for the attacker. But so you have basically three profiles when we are talking about the ramp model: enterprise, specialized, and privileged. Today, we will talk mainly about the privileged security. But what is the issue is more security we are implementing, more we will have visible security and we will lose productivity. So today, my main goal is to show you some stuff you can implement, which are as well what I will call invisible security. So it don't really represent a major change for people. It just will give them more security. There will be maybe new practice, but the main goal is not to implement some security which are totally blocking the persons. If you have implemented everything, the best security is when you can't do anything. But we are not here to just lost all the productivity. We are here to implement more security without impacting the productivity. So here are the ramp model. So basically, you have three types of profile: enterprise, specialized, and privileged. Depending what they access, the sensitivity you have of access, you will deploy a different profile. So basically, when you have some people like they are the first level of support, maybe they don't really need to have a full privileged security for the highest impact. Today, I will really talk about the privilege strategy. So the guy which has the most sensible one. After, if you have, different people, different profile, I invite you to see the different possibility you have. So enterprise security, specialized. I don't will cover them because it will take a bunch of hours. But today I will really talk about the privilege security, which is the higher level of security we need to cover. Basically, if you are an on-prem guy, you might know the privileged security as T0. You can consider the specialized as T1 and the enterprise security as T2. So we are securing the privileged accounts. So first, we're going to start by the device. The device, you need basically to secure the root. You can't allow someone to make IT operations on your system from a device which is not secure. For that, we need to implement what we call the privileged access workstation. The denomination is a PO, but I will invite you to search for what we call the privileged access device. Basically, it's the same, but if you are typing PO on Microsoft documentation, you might find some legacy documentation. If you are typing privileged access device on the Learn, you will have the new documentation. What is this pad or PO? Basically, it's a rock. You put it on your bag. It's totally, you are not supposed to do a lot of stuff with that. Basically, you will have all URL which will be denied by default. We are only approving by exception. It's not intended to make web navigation with it. You will have a different computer, which will be your corporate computer, to do that. You don't will have admin permission on it, and basically nearly no privilege, no escalation possibility on it, because we don't want someone which is stealing your device to make bad stuff. You have what we call the CIS. It's the Center for Internet Security. It's a it's an association, so it's totally free. They have guide. You can go directly on their site, which is download CIS benchmark, and they will have some guide just for your device. It's 1,300 pages, but it will give you all the recommendation you can put in place to have a high security and respecting sensitivity data for a device. Basically, if you implement all of this, you will have like the most secure computer you can have. For sure. So it's a little joke, but yeah, we don't join personal device via autopilot when we are using a privileged device. No personal device, yeah, it's pretty obvious. When you have the device, which is kind of secure, we need to go on the account. So I will go deeper on the account because there are a lot of stuff, and I'm really specialized on account as well. When we are making administration online, you have to consider the different portals. So you have portals like Azure, you have portals like Intune. But first things first, when you are making this account, you are making a cloud-only account. We are not using an account which is synchronized on-premise to make administration. It's to avoid lateral movement between on-prem and online. At the end, I will make a demonstration on how with a cloud account, which is like badly secure, you can attack on-prem. And when you want to avoid that, you need to implement a huge segregation. So meaning if you are on premise, you have a T1, you have a T0, you have a T2. But when you are online, you have a different tiering. And that's where you're going to have what I called a TC, a tiering cloud account. Monitoring all the logs from Entra ID can be exported on Microsoft Sentinel for controls. So I invite you to do that because on Entra ID, basically you have only 30 days of logs. After, when we are talking about the MFA, go for a phishing-proof approach. We are not using authenticator. We have some stuff like EventJinx, which is really effective to compromise an authenticator. The best we can have, it's a FIDO key. I have one here. I'm using it to work. FIDO key, biometric one. Okay, they are costing a bit because, yeah, it's $100. But when you have them, you're just secure. You have to put your finger, no passwords. Basically, when I make this account, I'm not giving the password to persons. Right now, you have bunch of applications which are supporting directly modern authentication, and they can support FIDO keys. I have all my administrators, they have only FIDO keys, they don't even know their password. The privileged access device, sure, we already talked about it. When we are making access, we are respecting zero trust, so we have the just in time. We are not giving permissions which are permanent. Why? Because when someone is attacked, if the permission is permanent, you can do whatever you want. With the just-in-time and PIM, you can ask to people to review the role activation. It's a really good practice for that to avoid someone using permission when it's not intended. After, we have the access review. So as well for the CIS, I put it on the top right, you have the same guide for accounts. It's preconizing to have an access review monthly. So every month you will make a review of all permissions you have set to people. Why? Because, you know, I have the random guy, John Doe. He joined the company and he left and they forgot to delete the account. 8 months later, the account is still here with permission. Even if the guy doesn't have, you know, a computer to use it, the account was still here with permissions during 8 months. It's really bad. That's why access review is something you should consider to implement to have really a good view of who have permission during the year. After, you have what I call continuous access evaluation. So you need to put a session expiration. Every 4 hours, I made expire the token. So that means I just have to reconnect. It's boring, but you know, I have a FIDO key. So it's one of the security which is kind of invisible. I just put my FIDO key, I put my finger, I'm connected again. For the management, you can use Entra ID governance So it's an additional license, I know, but Entra ID governance is allowing you to make access package. So right now, when you are managing permission, it's kind of complicated because you need to put permission one by one to every people. As well, when you are managing Azure, you need to put management groups one by one to people. And it's kind of mess to manage. Basically, with Entra ID governance, you can make a package. So I have a team. I have John Doe from this team. So he need to access this, and this subscription. He need to have this security reader permission because he's making Defender as well. And so I can put all of this in a package. And basically the permission will be put directly through PIM. So it will be a role which is eligible. And as well for the group, you can put PIM for group and eligible groups directly on the access package. So that means you will have all the security and you can align with access package through your whole team. So once we have the account, we need to talk about the intermediary. The intermediary is the way you are connecting. Basically, we are not privileging the facts to connect directly from the computer. You can use Azure Bastion or any Bastion solutions you want, Cloudflare, etc. But when you are using a Bastion, you are ensuring you are recording the session. And by recording the admin actions, when something bad is done, you will still have the records. Right now, you have some solutions with Azure Vision, which is allowing to analyze directly a video through AI and to view what has been done. So I take my video, I give it to Azure Vision, and I ask him, yeah, what admin actions has been done? And it will make me a resume directly of 8 hours of job of someone. If I have some doubt, it will be like the best stuff to do to have a Bastion and to really watch what are done. As well, PIM, so we already talked about just in time. Sorry, Microsoft didn't put this stuff up to date. It's Entra ID, but yeah, basically it's PIM. We are doing only just in time. After, you have some privilege escalation, which can be considered as a risk because they are providing potential privilege escalation, like the VPN or the remote desktop. We are not favorizing directly remote desktop. We are only using it through the Bastion. As well, right now for the VPN, so you have new solutions like the ZTNA. We'll see that a bit later, but yeah, ZTNA is replacing VPN to have a zero trust network access. Interface. So the interface basically, right now, when you have your privileged access workstation, you can, so some people are saying you can make direct access to the resource. I'm not a huge fan of that. I prefer to have people which are using a privileged intermediary. But what is the most important about the interface is to say the interface can only be joined by the dedicated intermediary. So basically, if I have the portal, Azure portal, I can only reach the Azure portal from a privileged intermediary. You can base your rules on conditional access, but you say, okay, the people which are doing right now the Azure administration, they are using a privileged access workstation, a privileged intermediary. When they are on it, they will connect to the Azure portal. But the case to just, say the interface can only be joined by a privileged intermediary is just to avoid people using their personal computer or stuff we don't want. That gives us an access path. So I made the little schema about the whole access path. So basically, I have my pad Oppo, and here I made you a little schema. I got some friends which are already talking about that. You might have heard it. It's called Microsoft Entra Private Access, part of global secure access solution from Microsoft. Basically, it's a solution which is replacing VPN. It's a ZTNA, zero trust VPN. You can call it like that. When you initiated the connection to your Bastion, after you will reach your jump box, which is your red jump box, and after you can make directly administration, activate your permission through PIM. Right now, most of the people are using jump boxes to make administration. It's just what I would call, a cloud jump box. Normally, if you are doing tiering on-premise, you already know the schema because you have a PAM tool on-prem and you're accessing your jump box T1, T0, or T2, and you are making administration. It's basically the same online. RBAC, Entra ID and Azure. So let's talk about that. So between M365 and Azure, you have some difference. It's really important to know that there are totally different permissions. Still have people which are like, oh, Clément, you are Exchange admin, you can help me on Azure. No. It's totally different and totally splitted because on Azure side, the RBAC is totally different. It will be based on management group, subscription, and resource group. On M365 side, it will be based on service like Teams, Exchange, OneDrive, etc. So when you are on M365, what is the most important to know in terms of difference is you will have some permissions, some actions which are read, write, all tasks basically, and you will have a scope. When we are talking about Azure, the main difference in terms of permissions will be you have actions and you have one possibility which is really different. So you can make a do not. So you can see the detail here. You have actions and you have not actions. So you have difference. You have the control plane and the data plane as well. Basically, when you are administrating a service on M365, is way more complex because you already have the control and the data plane on Azure. You still have the provider, which will be there. You will have the action, but basically what is the main difference is you have the possibility to say, oh, not action. And so the guy will be like we have here able to start a virtual machine, but it don't will be able to power off if you are putting that on not action. So you can do stuff like that in terms of permission with Azure, which is really, really more effective than M365. When you done your permissions, you have one stuff to remind. The global admin, it doesn't have any permission by default, but you have a way in the Entra administration to make what we call the break glass procedure. Is to activate the access management for Azure resources. So when you activate this, so I put it here, you will gain the permission on the root, which is user access administrator. So be careful because when you are putting a guy which is global administrator, you say, oh, the guy is global admin, it will manage 365. He can, in fact, as well impact Azure. So be really careful. That's why when you have the CIS recommendations, they will tell you, please only have like 5 global administrator max because it can impact Azure as well. And so by user access administrator at the root, that don't mean I'm owner. So I can't touch resources, but I can give me the owner role on every subscription and management groups. So right now, when you are putting permission on Azure, you have an heritage, and at the difference that you have on-premise, online, you can't break the heritage. You can't touch it. It can be overload, but basically, if I'm owner at the root, I'm owner on everything. So that's why you really need to be careful. And when you are putting permissions, you need to go deep on the detail. You can put permission at resource level, at the resource group, subscription, management group, but try to be more granular, to implement the most granularity you can. Oops, I have an issue here. Yep. Sorry. Excuse me, mates. I'm coming back. I took the on-prem. Yep, here we are. Sorry. So yeah, I put the details here about the global administrator and Azure permissions. Right now, so when I'm elevating myself, I can control Azure and Entra ID. So we are protecting the T0 workloads in Azure. We have what we call the Cloud Adoption Framework. It's a little tool from Microsoft. I really appreciate it because if you are following it, basically, you are you will be good in any case. So it's a good basis. We have what we called Azure landing zones, okay? And so after you will have the platform, the decommission, and the sandbox. In details, when you have landing zones, you have all your application workloads will be inside. After, when you're on the platform, you will have all the IT workloads. It's really important to split that because if you are looking at the schema, you have like Corp, SAP, or stuff like that. So I will have all my applications which are on the landing zone. If I have my permission on my application, that means because I'm on the management group which are on landing zone, I don't have access on the platform. And that's what we are trying to do, isolate the platform. We don't want someone managing application to have the possibility to touch at the identity, the management, or the connectivity. I will explain you more in the demonstration, but just the focus we have on that is the identity. Why? Because some people, they are putting Active Directory domain services on the identity subscriptions. If you are not doing that, that means you can have some people which can touch the Active Directory because they are not split into different subscriptions. Here, it's a detail about the matrix. So basically, when you are making permissions, you're seeing when you are at the higher level, we are not allowing people to do strong stuff. When I say strong stuff, I don't have a permission at the top level to create a VM. When you are at the high level management group, you can only manage user access, you can manage group contributors, but after, because you have an heritage, you want only to manage permissions like the fact to create a VM directly at the low level management groups. So I don't want to have someone at a platform which have permission on everything. No, when I want to create a VM, I will have a permission directly on my identity landing zone, management group, sorry. On the management group identity, I will have the permission at the subscription level to make my job. I don't will have the permission which are crossing all the layers. I want my permission in one asset. When you are doing permission on Azure, what is good is you can make group permissions. So I said, okay, I'm Clément. I have my group, so I can be contributor on the identity subscription. I have one group. Please try to define correctly your naming chart. It's important and avoiding confusion. When I have my group, which is done, I can implement PIM for groups. And when you have PIM for groups, it will allow you to avoid permission, forever on person which are managing identity. Normally, when your identity subscription is deployed, your Active Directory is inside. Normally, it's not the stuff we are touching a lot. So that means, we don't want permission which are permanent on it. DevOps, let's talk about the developers here. Because, I got one joke, so I made a conference some time ago. And the guy was like talking about Azure DevOps. He said, yeah, I'm just going global admin and I deploy. Let's go. And I was in the other room talking about that. So it was kind of funny. But yeah, basically, when you are deploying, you have permissions. When you are using a service principal to make deployment, you have permissions. And it's like an open tunnel. That means, the tunnel is still open because the permissions are here, they're not disappearing. What you can do is when you are putting the SPN on a permission group as the user of the SPN, so I will go on the group and I can activate the permission just in time for the SPN. And we try to make only just in time for everything, like to access Azure resources or ready to make deployments. So let's talk about a little demonstration. So basically, we'll talk about how to reset the domain admin password through Azure. I have 3 stuff for you. So I don't really have time to make the whole demonstration of them. It will take a bunch of time. But the first one, it's called Crosslinked. Crosslinked is a tool right now which is allowing you to identify employees from a company based on LinkedIn. So if I'm launching cross-linked, this one, so I'm typing my company name, and it will try to find everyone which are on LinkedIn and which are on this company. If I do that, so for my company, I will find me, and after I will use what I called AAD internals. AAD internals is a tool, and so it's not like an hacking. You can directly launch it. Every domain which are on a tenant are public. So you can try to create a domain. No, when you are making Cloud and the admin account, we are using only on Microsoft.com. Why? Because it's a domain managed by Microsoft, which can be federated. So don't try to hide your domains, we will know it. You're using AD internals. AD internals will list all the domain on the tenant. When I have all the domains, I have my list of employees. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna test the address. So I am Clément Serafin, so I will test c'est Serafin, Clément.Serafin. I will test CSC. So I will test all the naming shorts I can have with the different domains I found. And this is called SMTP enumeration. It's something which is like public. Why? Because SMTP enumeration is basically when you have a mailing solution, they need to know if the address is existing or no, but to don't be banned. So SMTP enumeration is allow mass mailing tool to test the address before sending a mail to it. But bad luck, because when I'm using cross-linked, I will have all the list of mail address from a company. And that's where I'm going to use EvilJinx after. EvilJinx, it's a tool which is emulating, it's emulating directly a portal to make MFA authentication. So if I can find the portal, the authentication portal of your team, I can impersonate it. So be careful when you're connecting, look at the top, look at the URL, because EvilJinx, so basically can't have the same URL. But when you will see the portal is typically the same. And what I'm gonna do with that, I'm gonna take the cookie. And when I have your cookie, I can impersonate you and connect. One stuff which is really bad is basically when you are a contributor, you have one permission which is called run command. So you can, if you want, directly run a PowerShell script inside a virtual machine. And this stuff that's why you need really to segregate your permissions. You know, if you have someone which is owner at the top level, yes, he can make what we call the run command. And that's what I would like to show you right now in videos. So with a friend, we made this architecture directly. And so we had a key vault. So don't worry, this stuff is not existing anymore, so don't try. But so we have the local admin of the machine, okay? And what we're gonna do is just, to show you. So I'm connect, like a global admin. So I go on the Bastion, I connect to my VM, let's go, and I'm in. So this one is, the default local admin. Nothing to fear, okay? So you can see Mr. Teddy. So I'm back. I'm a domain admin. It's my local groups. Let's see the example. So we will take someone which is really well known. So right now, when you're executing, so I will come back here and I can run a PowerShell script. And for example, I just will say net group domain admins. And I can have the local admin. And if I want, I will run a DS query, okay? And I can see, sorry, I just passed the stuff. So I will say my person which is there. So I will add this account by run a PowerShell script. I will add it directly inside the local admins. And when I connect, so you will have directly your path, the domain admin groups, which is put in place, and you will have it as well for the account we have set up, which is Bart Simpson. So basically, Bart Simpson had became a domain admin because I run a PowerShell as local admin on it. So I'm gonna go on as local admin because I can run the PowerShell command. I can put Bart Simpson as the domain admin. And this stuff is really dangerous. Me, personally, I don't wish to put any domain inside Azure. I know for availability purpose, it can be good, but if you don't have the correct level of permissions, the correct level of segregations, you can have your on-prem, which will be compromised by someone which is working online. And this stuff, I think it's not acceptable. So to conclude, yeah, please, when you are making segregation, try to be proficient to segregate on-prem, online, and try really to be effective on that because you need really to consider every surface vector of attack. Okay, so that's pretty all for me. A little stuff to conclude this presentation. So you can find me on LinkedIn, and I didn't have some time to make it in English, but one stuff we are seeing on the market, it's called vishing. So for those which are speaking English, I made it. So for those which are speaking French, I made it in French. I didn't made it in. I didn't made it in. Sorry, in English. But basically, what is vishing? It's a new activity which is coming in town, which is really effective. You can directly, so I will show you, is there, got the videos. Sorry, I'm coming. Chuk, chuk, chuk. And here are the posts I made about this. So for those which are speaking in French, it's a voice phishing I made. So I just try the person to make her, like I'm calling her and I'm asking her to click on some link. And so that's where I can, get the token and get the password through the portal. What is the trap here? Basically, the voice you're listening at the beginning, you can say, it might look like mine, but it's not my voice at all. It's only a clone voice. So I used 11 Labs, which is a tool which is now allowing to make advanced voice clone. And you have people which are starting to clone voice to make some attacks. It's something which is coming, which is pretty dangerous. I don't wish you that, but be careful about that because phishing, so voice phishing, is coming a lot by people which are cloning voices. We have some companies like Retool, they lost like 1.5 million because one of their COMEX, one of the COMEX person validate an MFA and validate an order after a voice phishing. Thank you. So that's all for me. Again, thank you for the sponsors which are here. And I'm fully available if you have any questions.